the ancient Igbo kingdom of Umueze, where the forest whispered secrets to the night, and the rivers sang to the moon, a princess named Adaeze lived. She was not just beautiful, her beauty was the type that made the sun jealous, and the moon hid its face in shame. Her eyes sparkled like the morning dew, her skin was as smooth as freshly pounded yam, and her laughter could make even the saddest heart dance. Yet, Adaeze was not just a beauty, she was fierce, intelligent, and as stubborn as the Harmattan wind that refused to bow to the rain. Adaeze's father, King Ezenwa, was a man of wisdom and wealth. He ruled the people with a firm but kind hand, ensuring peace and prosperity in the land. But the king had one worry. His beloved daughter had refused every suitor that came her way. From the bravest warrior, the biggest DG, to the richest traders, none could win her heart. Why, Adaeze? Why do you reject them all? King Ezenwa would ask, frustration lacing his voice. Papa, she would reply with a slight smile, must I settle for ordinary when I deserve extraordinary? Let the one who can capture my heart prove he is worthy. Until then, I remain as free as the eagle in the sky. Word spread across the land about the princess who rejected all men. Suitors came in droves, carrying gifts that could stop a poor man's heart. Golden bangles, carved ivory tusk, and even a crown made of the rarest coral. But Adaeze had a way of testing them. One suitor, a renowned hunter, Obina, was asked to return a live python from the sacred forest. He returned with scratches and bruises, dragging a python that had already given up its ghost. Another, Uche, the weirdest man in the land, was challenged to swim across the crocodile-infested river and returned with a handful of sand from the other bank. He sent servants instead and came back boasting of his cunning. Adaeze rejected them all. A man who cannot conquer fear or dishonesty cannot conquer my heart, she would say, her voice as firm as a drum beat. One moonlight night, as the villagers gathered around the communal fire to share stories and songs, a mysterious sound filled the air, a drum beat so enchanting that even the crickets felt silent to listen. The sound came from the edge of the forest, where lights of the fire barely reached. Adaeze, drawn by the music, stood and walked towards the sound, ignoring the whisper and the warnings of the herders. There beneath the ancient palm tree, she saw him, a young man with skin as smooth as midnight, eyes as deep as the ocean, and a smile that held secrets. He played the drum as if the gods themselves had taught him. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I am Nkem," he replied, his eyes locking with hers. "A traveler from afar." There was something about him, something she couldn't place. His presence was comforting and unsettling, with a cool breeze before a storm. Nkem became a frequent visitor to the palace. Though he claimed to be a traveler, he spoke little of his past. He told Adaeze stories of lands beyond the rivers, where the sun kissed the earth with golden rays and the stars danced in endless patterns. His words painted picture that made Adaeze's heart race and her mind wander. The villagers began to murmur. Who was this stranger? Where did he come from? Why was the princess who rejected kings and warriors now laughing, walking with a man who seemed to appear from nowhere? Even King Ezenwa grew suspicious. "Adaeze, do you know who he truly is?" he asked one evening. "Papa," she replied, a dreamy look in her eyes. "His heart is as pure as the first rain. Does it matter where he comes from?" But it did matter, and the herders knew it. One fateful evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, bathing the land in hues of red and gold, the chief priest, Dibia Okeke, came to the palace with urgent news. "Your Majesty, he began, his voice trembling. The gods has revealed something troubling. This man who came is not of this world. Ah! What do you mean, Ezemo? The king demanded, his voice rising like thunder. He is a spirit, the Dibia replied. A ghost who walked among the living. He is tied to the land of the dead, yet his heart beats for the princess. The palace erupted in chaos. Servants whispered, guards clutched their spears tighter, and the queen wailed in fear. But Adeze stood silent, her face unreadable. When the noise died down, she spoke. If he is a ghost, then so be it. For the first time in my life, I have found someone who sees me, not just my beauty or my father's wealth. If love can bridge the gap between life and death, then I choose to cross it. Ah, the elders chorused, but Adeze already stood her ground. That night, Adeze sat by her window, staring at the moon. Her heart was as heavy, but her resolve was firm. She whispered to the night as if the stars and the winds were her audience. Oh moon, you who have watched over lovers since time began, what have you seen? Have you seen a love like this? A love that defies the law of nature. They call him a ghost, yet his touch feels real. His words breathe life into my soul. Am I a fool to choose him? Or am I brave to follow my heart? The wind seemed to answer her, carrying a distant sound of Nkem's drum. Its melody filled with longing, a sound that seemed to say, "Come to me." Unable to resist, Adeze slipped out of the palace that night and went to the palm tree where Nkem waited. The air was thick with the scent of blossoms, and the forest was alive with the sounds of crickets and owls. Nkem, she called softly. He appeared from the shadows, his eyes glowing like embers. Adeze, I knew you would come. Is it true? She asked, her voice trembling. Are you a ghost? Yes, he admitted, his voice steady. I am a spirit born to this world by an unfulfilled destiny. But my love for you is as real as the earth beneath your feet. Tears filled her eyes. Then take me with you to the lands of the spirits where your journey leads. I choose you, Nkem. Nkem hesitated. The path we cross will not be easy. You will face trials that could break even the strongest heart. I fear nothing, she said, her voice firm. Not when I'm with you. As the roosters crowed to announce the dawn, Nkem led Adeze deeper into the forest, towards the place where the veil beyond words was tiniest. But their journey would not be without challenges. The first trial awaited them at the rivers of shadows, where the living could lose their way and never return. The rivers of shadow was not like any river Daisy had seen before. Its waters were black, glistening like liquid obsidian under the faint moonlight. The rivers did not flow. It shimmered, rippled, and seemed alive. Wisps of mist floated above it, forming shapes that whispered and reached out with ghostly fingers. Nkem stopped at the edge of the river. He turned to Adeze, his expression grave. This is the first trial, he said. To cross the rivers of shadows, you must hold on to your courage. The rivers will show you your deepest fears, your hidden regrets, the truth you may wish to ignore. If you let go of my hand, you will be lost forever. Adeze nodded, her heart pounding. I am ready. Nkem extended his hands. It was warm, a surprising comfort in the cold, hairy night. Together they stepped into the river. As soon as our feet touched the water, Adeze felt a strange pull, as if the river wanted to swallow her whole. The mist around her thickened, and she could no longer see Nkem beside her. A voice called out softly and familiar, "Adaeze, Adaeze, Adaeze, ah ha 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 ha." She froze. It was her mother's voice. Turning, she saw a figure emerge from the mist, a woman with some kind of eyes and gentle smile as her mother. The woman opened her arms. "My daughter, why do you leave us? Do you not love your family?" Adaeze's heart ached. "Mama, I do love you, but..." Then still the figure interrupted. "Stay where you belong. Why risk your life for a ghost? Come back to us, Adaeze. Come back." For a moment, doubt crept into her heart. Was she making a mistake? But then she remembered Nkem's warning. The river was testing her, trying to break her resolve. She closed her eyes and whispered, "This is not real. My heart knows the truth." The figure was gone when she opened her eyes, and the mist cleared. Nkem's hand tightened around her, and they continued. On the other side of the river lay the forest of echoes, where the voices of the past roamed freely. The trees here were tall and ancient, their twisted branch forming a canopy blocking the sky. As they walked, the forest began to speak. "Adaeze, you are foolish," one voice said, sounding like her father. "Why risk everything for a love that cannot last?" Another chimed in, mimicking the others. The voice grew louder, overlapping until they became a cacophony of doubt and ridicule. Adaeze covered her ears, but the voices were inside her heads now, each chipping away at her confidence. She stopped walking, her knees buckling. "Nkem, I cannot go on. The voices, they are too much." Nkem knelt beside her, his face calm and steady. "Do not listen to them. These voices are shadows of the past, the echoes of fears. They have no power over you unless you let them." Adaeze took a deep breath and focused on Nkem's voice, letting it drown out the others. Slowly the forest fell silent and they pressed on. Finally they reached the forest's edge, where a massive stone archway loomed. This was the veil, the barrier between the worlds of the living and the dead. Guarding it was a creature unlike anything Adaeze had ever seen. A giant shimmering figure with eyes like burning coal and a voice that rumbled like distant thunder. "Who dared to approach the veil?" the guardian bellowed. "It is I, Nkem," he replied, stepping forward. "I seek passage for myself and the one I love." The guardian's gaze shifted to Adaeze, scrutinizing her as if peering into her soul. "She is not of the spirit world. Why should I allow her to pass?" Adaeze stepped forward, her voice steady despite her fears. "Because my love for Nkem knows no bound. I have faced the river and the forest. I will face whatever lies beyond the veil. Love is my shield, and courage is my guide." The guardian chuckled, a deep resonant sound. "Brave words, child, but love alone is not enough. You must prove your worth." The guardian raised a hand and a hair shimmered. A figure appeared, a perfect replica of Nkem. "One of these is real," the guardian said. "The other is an illusion. Choose wisely or both of you shall be lost." Adaeze's heart pounded. The two Nkems were identical, down to the way they stood and the expression on their faces. The first Nkem stepped forward. "It is I, Adaeze. Choose me and let us cross the veil together." The second Nkem did the same. "No, Adaeze, I am the real Nkem. Do not be deceived." Adaeze closed her eyes and let her heart guide her. She remembered the warmth of Nkem's hand and the sound of his voice, and how his presence made her feel uneasy. Opening her eyes, she pointed to the second figure. "You are the real Nkem?" The first figure vanished and the guardian nodded. "You have chosen wisely. Go forth, but know this, the journey doesn't end here." Hand in hand, Nkem and Adaeze stepped through the archway. The world beyond was both strange and beautiful. Colors shimmered in ways she had never seen, and the air was filled with melody that seems to come from the stars themselves. As they walked, Adaeze began to feel a heaviness in her chest. The further they went, the harder it became to breathe. Nkem, she gasped, "I can't go on." He turned to her, his eyes filled with sorrow. "Adaeze, this is the price of crossing the spirit world. The living cannot stay here for long." Tears streamed down her face. "But I choose you. I cannot go back." Nkem held her close. "You have proven your love, Adaeze. Now I must prove mine." With a deep breath, he began to chant. His voice resonated with the energy of the spirit world, and the ground beneath them began to glow. Nkem's form began to waver, his edges blowing as if he was fading. "I will give up my place in the spirit world," he said, "so that I may walk the earth with you." "No!" Adaeze cried. "You cannot!" He smiled, his face full of love. "I can and I will. For love, Adaeze, for you." The light grew brighter, enveloping them both. When it faded, they stood again beneath the palm tree, the veil behind them. Nkem was no longer a spirit. He was mortal, his heart beating strong and steady. The villagers were astonished when the couples returned, their love stronger than ever. King Ezenwa, though hesitant at first, gave his blessing. Adaeze and Nkem's story became a legend, a tale of love that defied the boundaries of life and death. And under the shade of the palm tree, they built a life filled with joy, challenges, and the unbreakable bonds of two souls who dared to love beyond words.